I'm Jaden Jefferson, and now today I am reporting on the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, earlier I spoke to some student activists to get their opinions on the movement and what they're doing to make change. I'm Jaden Jefferson. I'm joined by student activists Tyson Hughes, Ny'Asia Mathis, and Antonia Villa to talk about the Black Lives Matter movement here in the city of Toledo. Who made the most impact on your decision to become an activist?
I think for me, it would either be myself and wanting to do something more and do something that can further the future. So I am such a people person and such an extrovert. It's just something that just draw me into it. It's either myself or my nieces and nephews. They did not verbally tell me to do it, but it's just that I want things to change for them. I want things to be different for them and not be the same how it was for me. So I think they really influenced me to do, because I do want things to change so badly. So I think either them or me.
Well, for me, I think it was really just the people who don't have as much of an open mind as others. The more we can educate people, the more they can make well-informed decisions rather than acting off of bias that they may already have from either their parents, themselves, or media and stuff like that. So I just thought it'd be what inspired me was to educate people on the different topics.
And for me, I guess a little bit what Ny'Asia said. I have a nephew as well. His name is Norman. When he was born, it was a very pivotal moment for me because I wanted him to have the best world that he could grow up in, not similar to what we're going through right now because of the cases at hand. Yes, definitely my nephew Norman. And my parents as well, because they're very, very big activists themselves. They really pride themselves on being pro-Black and being the best examples for themselves and for me. I would say my parents and my nephew.
Who or what historical event made you concerned for your future?
I think the case of Trayvon Martin, it kind of made me shook in a sense, because I was around 13 at the time and he was 17, and I knew that my brother, he had just turned about 20, and so he was just a little bit older, which I knew that wasn't good. If you're older, you just seem bigger and you just seem scarier. So for me, that made me really concerned about my future. And also, going way back, one thing that made me concerned about my future is just when I was told that you're Black, you're gonna be treated differently, this is how things are. And I think that really just made me think to myself, why? I'm not going to go around hating people for it, or a certain group of people, just because their ancestors did something. I want to change that. I just felt like I could change that. So I think for me, it's just when I realized I was Black and I said things are going to be different, and people were telling me things are going to be different.
I think for me, it was more further back with the reading about the Black Panther Party, Malcolm X, Dr. Martin Luther King, and just how they all went about trying to change the way things were, and how we still, even though they worked very hard and you could see the different ways that they tried to do it, like peaceful protesting, not violent, but more and even how people now are saying, well, if we peacefully protest, we can change things. Well, Martin Luther King was a peaceful protester and he still got
Assassinated.
Obviously, we are Black, so we have this looming thing over our heads saying we could possibly be killed, we could possibly be arrested. So we've always had this thing with us where we always have to look behind our backs. We have always have to be 10 steps of the head ahead of the people around us. The person who really impacted me was Breonna Taylor. It was just how it happened and how evasive. It really shook me to my core because it was such a traumatic event. They invaded her personal space, took her own life when it wasn't even, the situation didn't even involve with her. We are so dismissive of Black women. We are so dismissive of the lives of Black women, where it's just a situation that we're in currently. And what happened to her showed me that I have to be a voice in my community. I have to be a voice for the people who are around me, and I have a responsibility to give back to my community and be a figure for the people to come. That event really shook me to my core.
What type of people do we need to join this movement?
I think just people who have a voice and who can really use their platform for the good of their community. I feel like people are more likely to listen to someone that they already look up to, and then they'll give them a second to think and think maybe I should pay attention and educate myself further so I can succeed.
I would say the people that we need in this type of movement are people who are willing to put themselves forward in a light that may not be in the best. I feel like we need leaders who are willing to fully support and fully be behind everything that we are trying to put out in this world, everything that we're trying to take away that isn't benefiting us. I feel like we need people who will advocate for us, and at any given day, time, we need full on like ride or dies. Sorry. If we're being honest, racism has been very, very, very prominent, I'm sure, throughout our entire lives. But when you think about it, nothing has really changed. I saw this thing on Instagram where they said racism hasn't gone up or gone down. It's just being recorded. That was very powerful to me because that told me that nothing is changing. Nothing is being advocated for. And I really think we need more people who would just be there for us and be our champions for this cause. We need people who will be ride or dies for us.
Jumping off of what Tyson said about things are just being recorded, things actually haven't changed, and I just agree with that so much. That's why I think that we need people who are willing to make a change. We need people who see the wrong that's going on. We just need those people who just dip their toe and say, let me see if I can change anything. Then they get in that loop of, oh wow, I can see how big this is, and keep going. We just need people to try just a little bit to get out there. So I think before, especially like when you think about like the 1800s and how people were ashamed of like standing up for Black people, called N-word lovers and stuff like that. It's seen as a negative thing to stand up for Black people. It used to be such a taboo thing to bring up racism, especially when Obama was president, because he's supposedly like one of the people who cured racism, along with Martin Luther King. It's one of those things people just like to throw over, cover over it, and just call it this, let it be, sit in the corner. I think that we just need people to uncover that, see it, and stand up together. And I know a lot of people want to see change and know that the things that are happening are wrong. Just anybody who wants to change can make a change.
What negative personal experiences have you had being young and Black?
I've had many. Actually, it's very surprising because I've grown up very different from my family members who have had very negative experiences with racism, but I've been brought up in a better community, in a better way of life, but it still hasn't changed. Here's one example. I was in Chicago this one time with my school, Homie Valley. It was this tower. We were going up there. We were having a fun time. Like, we were seeing the skyline and stuff like that. Straight away, this lady, I was just like, are you kidding me? It was literally it changed. It was just such a traumatic experience for me because it showed me that no matter where you grow up, no matter who you're raised by, only thing that matters to the people around you is your skin color and what your skin color means to everyone around you. That was one of the most negative experiences that I've had with racism. It showed me that I need to create a better space for people who will look at me down the line.
One incident was I was out in Sylvania. I live in Toledo by Holland, Sylvania, and Bancroft, basically. That's where I live. It's a nice community, 43615 area, very middle class. And I have my Kroger's. My Kroger's is where I go. Usually my mom goes. We go pick up groceries. But I was going to go get groceries for my aunt, who's a little bit older and stuff like that. So I went to her house. She lives in Sylvania. And I had to go to the Kroger's off of King Road. I'm not very familiar with it or anything like that, but all Kroger's basically look the same. And so I thought all people act the same. I went out to Kroger's and I get out. I'm wearing my hair in a puff as usual. And I go inside, I get everything, and I go to checkout. As I'm going to checkout, I feel this lady watching me in the second cash register, and I'm just checking out. I was like, okay, well, she's watching me, obviously. I'm not the person to steal. I've grown up having basically, not to sound spoiled, but basically what I want, and there's like no reason to steal in my eyes. I grew up Christian, so that's a definitely no for me. That's against one of the 10 commandments. I don't steal. It makes me feel guilty and all that. So there's no reason for me to steal. I was like, okay, well, here we go. My brain goes to automatic. You better put everything out. Make sure you look like you're scanning everything like super obvious. And as I'm doing that, she's still looking at me. I'm that kind of person. I just had enough. So then I looked at her, and usually those type of people, especially like recently, like when I say recent, I mean like in the 21st century, if you look at them, they kind of like, go like, look away and stuff. No, she looked at me dead in my eyes and kept watching me. Just looking at me thinking I was going to steal. It's just so disrespectful. It's not the one, it's not the first occasion. It's definitely not going to be the last. And I don't want my nephews and stuff to have to go through that and have to feel like they're doing something that's actually wrong. There's nothing wrong with us. It's not that we're going to steal. It's their perception of us that we're going to steal. As I keep looking back and reflecting on this time in my life, I really realized that I have to have confidence in myself and I have to lean on like my mom's teaching that I am a strong Black woman and I am going to face certain things, but I have to stand my ground in my shoes. I was in 5th grade and we're going on this camping trip. Being in 5th grade or so, I didn't know how to do my hair fully. And all my life, I say probably first through 4th grade, I had my hair permed and straightened and relaxed, so it was going to be straight. But this time my hair was curly in 5th grade. I wanted to grow it out. So what I did was I had box braids. The night before at like 10 o'clock, I had packed everything for this trip and all. I started crying. I started bawling my eyes out. I got so scared because I had braids in my hair. And I said, what are people going to think? They're going to think that I'm ghetto. They're going to think this. It's just too much. I don't like it. And I just completely like changed my mind. I had loved it the day before. And I wanted to take them out. But my mom said, no, like they look fun. They look pretty, like they look good. And I just said, no, I'm scared. Like I don't know what's going to happen or whatever. And it just made me realize that I had been in a society that has whitewashed me to think that my culture and that how we wear our hair is ghetto and is wrong, but it's not. It's just how our hair is, and it's how we express ourselves through hair. I learned that, and I think when my mom told me to go and wear my hair in the braids, it was a pivotal moment for me. And I said, you know what? This is where it begins. This is where I start trying to be different and embrace my culture, like on purpose. And I see what I'm doing it on purpose. If people get mad, let them be mad, because this is my culture. They can do whatever they want whenever they want to, because they're the majority. I can too. It doesn't matter if I'm the minority or not. The last incident is when I went to my aunt's house, and this is during quarantine. This is on Mother's Day. My aunt is very special to me. I love her dearly. She lives on Savannah, like I said, and I had got flowers. I got her card, and it was all nice. It was so perfect. I got her tulips and everything. What I was going to do was, and this is going to be like so adorable, I drive. It's going to park the car around the corner, go up to the door, leave it there, ring the doorbell, and like run off, So then she come and just like it's there, because I knew she saw my car, she was gonna know it was me. So I was like gonna surprise her and then come back up and stuff. But then I was like, I'm in Savannah. It's not my neighborhood. It's majority white people. My aunt's the only Black in her subdivision. I was like, this isn't safe. And I thought of Aubrey, and I was like, he was shot and killed while running. They're civilians with guns. In Ohio is an open carry state. I knew this. And so I got really scared, and I said, I start running, I could possibly die. Like, this could really be it. I parked anyways in front of this house, and I got out, started walking really slowly. I went to the trunk. I've had to make the flowers in my mind so visible. It was Mother's Day. I had to make everything in my mind seem so visible to seem like this is exactly what I'm doing. I'm not coming here to rob you. It doesn't matter how Tyson said, like, we're playing in these good environments, stuff still happens. It doesn't matter if I go to Mommy Valley. It doesn't matter if it's the #1 school in our district. It doesn't matter if I grew up in middle class. It doesn't matter any of that. It doesn't matter if I was driving a Lamborghini. If I still got out, it would have seemed like I stole the car. If I would have got on my car, it would look suspicious. Still, doesn't matter. I rent her house, and I remember just my heart beating so fast. That shouldn't have to happen just because I want to drop off or do something nice for my aunt. That's what I have to deal with, and that's what we have to deal with as Black people. That's just happened to me recently, basically, that made me question our society in a large way.
In elementary school, I'd say this lasted between kindergarten and 3rd grade. At such a young age, I never really thought much about the fact that I was Black, because I grew up with my mom and my mom's side of the family. They were all Mexican. So I really knew a lot about, being Mexican and not so much about like the Black side of me. I just never really thought I'd experience anything until it started in kindergarten. I mentioned there was this girl who, I think we were standing in the lunch line, and we got in just a little argument. I remember her saying, well, that's why nobody likes you, because you're Black. All throughout kindergarten and 3rd grade, I would just keep getting bullied by her just because of the color of my skin. I remember going home to my grandma, crying, why is this happening? Because I didn't understand. And I never really had that conversation. That was the day when she told me and she said, there's these words, they're called racial slurs, and some people will use them against you because they have a lot of hate in their heart. And ever since I've remembered that. And it just kind of goes to show you that even though we were so young, I'm sure the saying where you're not born with hate in your heart, but you taught it. My grandma had a lot of conversations with the people at school, and so did my mom, and we just like sorted out what they were originally going to do is move me out of my class. And I feel like that's also like there was something wrong there, because they were going to move me out of my class when I had done nothing wrong, and keep her in the class just to make me feel more comfortable, which I feel made matters worse, because it just showed that you can do whatever you want, and then they're just going to remove the person who did nothing wrong. After that incident, I moved to a new school because I moved states. I met this girl who lived down the street from me, which was really convenient because we were both friends and we went to the same school. So I remember her parents weren't the most accepting, but they were still like, polite, and they didn't really say anything in front of me. But I remember one night I was supposed to go over to their house for dinner, and she texted me like right before I was about to come over and said, well, I don't think you can come over anymore. Like my stepdad doesn't want you to come over. And I was like, oh, okay. And I just thought, maybe they want to have like a family dinner together. But the next day at school, I learned that her stepdad had told her mom, I don't want her coming over because I don't want her N-word hair in our food anymore, or because I had come over before and apparently had a problem with that, but he was never home when it happened. And I remember this was in like 5th grade, I believe. And I remember the same thing. I went home to my mom and I was like, I had like a conversation with her, and she said, well, you don't have to be friends with her anymore if that's the way that relationship is going to go. But I remember like thinking, well, it's not her that's like that, it's her parents, so there isn't a reason where she should be punished for it. But then I think it was a year later, she was like being nasty towards me. And I remember we got in an argument over who was going to wear like some shirt or something, because we had like the same shirt and it was going to match. And I remember she called me a monkey, and I was like, that never happened to me before. So again, I was just like, okay, well, this is real, this is happening. And I just remember not knowing how to respond, so I just left and went home.
It happened when I was around 12, and it was me and my grandmother, and I was in the back seat. What had happened was we were driving, I think we were driving to like Walmart or something. I cannot remember for the life of me, but I just remember us going very, very slow, mainly because it was police officer, like for some reason there was police officers just surrounding the area, and we didn't know why. It didn't have anything to do with us, but it was just like a whole situation. And my mom was just like, okay, guys, let's just calm down for a second, because there are police officers around, and let's be mindful about like who we are. She didn't say this, but it was just something that was going on like in her head, I'm sure. Like, let's be mindful of the things that are going on and be mindful about who we are. And I obviously, my 12-year-old self didn't know like barely anything about racism. I just know that I was Black, and that was it. We were just driving to the stoplight, and I just remember hearing like doo-doo, 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 like the car, like the police car come behind us. And I was just like, I heard my stomach just dropped, because I was just like, oh, I don't like this. Like the car got tension like automatically. And the guy comes up to my mom's car, like the window, and things were said. My police officer asked my mom to get out the car, and my grandmother is very, very like, no, like, I don't want her getting out the car. I don't want to get out the car. And here's another thing that happens a lot. The police officer didn't tell her why she was being pulled over, what was the point of this whole interaction. And my grandmother knew that, and she didn't want anything to happen to her. So my grandmother was just like, no, caused a whole altercation, made her get out the car. My grandmother just like screaming like, no, I don't want her to go. And my mom is like, unfortunately on the car, like on the police car, like, and it was like, and then my dad had to come, and it was just like a whole thing. And that just scarred me, like scarred me emotionally, because that's my mom, like getting arrested. And my mom owns a daycare. Like she's like pillar in the Salida community for that reason, and she would never do anything like there's no bad bone in her body. And what that did was just like, it doesn't matter who you are, what you've done. Period, point blank. When you are Black, you have such a disproportionate odds of everything in your life, and it sucks. And that's what people don't understand. That's why we're advocating so much for Black Lives Matter, for George Floyd, for Breonna Taylor, for all these people who have died over the past 10 years, and hundreds, thousands, doesn't even matter. Like, this is why we're advocating so hard. And like, all lives matter. Yes, all lives do matter. But at the same time, this specific group of people, Black people, are being killed every day. And I'm not saying all lives don't matter. I'm saying that this is an issue that needs to be addressed right now, and it needs to be fixed. We've been sitting, we've kneeled, we've put our fists up, we've done everything in the books by your standards, but there was no change seen. So if there's gonna be a riot, if there's gonna be a protest where things get a little rowdy, I'm all for it, because this is the only way that's gonna have change. This is the only way we get your attention. We flip over a couple of cars, we destroy Target. This is the only way we're gonna get action, and we're gonna get peace on this issue. So, in conclusion, if like, things need to be changed, and they need to happen quick, because I'm tired of waiting, and I'm sure Antonia, Jaden, Ny'Asia, you are all tired of waiting as well. And there needs to be action now.
I totally agree with Tyson on that. There needs to be action now. And I think that people really get confused on a lot of things, especially like who's doing what for what reason and when. And I think that's just a common misconception, especially what's happening now. So like Antonia said, we like to take the time to educate people on some things. So I just wanted to let some people know who may be watching who do not know, because I know there's a lot of media and a lot of things surrounding it. There's a lot of hoopla around it. So basically, at first, when things started happening with the protest again, because remember, it's not the first time we've protested in March, especially with Black Lives Matter. But during this time, in 2020, when this started happening last week, what happened was people who were protesting and marching felt the pain of George Floyd dying over again, just like Trayvon Martin, just like Eric Gardner. So things, as Tyson said, things weren't changing when we marched, when we kneeled before. So what happened was people burned things, people like tear down things, and did things to properties like Target and such. But there's a difference between the looting and the protesters. At first, the protesters did do that stuff, some things, because it was the anger. We felt that in our hearts. Things needed to change. They need to change now. We need to get people's attention. We need to make noise. But that wasn't happening. And so what happened was that people came in like anarchists from different states, and especially people who wanted to cause trouble or just took this time and opportunity and took advantage of it. People came and they started looting and started to taint the image of Black Lives Matter. And that's not what was supposed to happen. They're tainting the name of George Floyd. And I think that one thing that helped that go down and kind of stop that is, one, social media, getting everything on footage, getting those scary boys who are actually breaking windows for no reason after 3 or 4 days after the